Okay, guys, so we are trying our third episode of this and also our third setup of this. So we
Stay
didn't.
tuned for week 4.
Yeah, stay tuned for week 4. We may just be canceled.
We're just gonna get rid of the
But
chairs.
we're-
We're done with
but,
chairs.
Yeah, we're just all gonna stand. So last week we had pretty good audio. This week we kind of sacrificed a little bit of camera there, we said. So this week we're gonna try a little different something with audio and visual and see what kind of product we get out of that. But again, as mentioned, always good content. And so what we've started here is it's Coach Millie, Coach Sam, and I, and we're talking kind of the why behind the way we do things at CrossFit Metro East. And we've been doing this for a long time. Actually, we are celebrating our 13th signing of an affiliate agreement today. So we've been an affiliate for 12 years. And there's not a ton of us still around in that 12 plus range. But we've been doing this a long time. And so we've also kind of developed our own philosophies and ways around how we train, especially our group CrossFit classes. I think that's probably one of the meat and potatoes of why we talk about things like this. But we've got a slew of topics to discuss, some of which questions come up from clients, other questions might come up from coaches. And then other things that we just kind of know are things that people should know more about training. And so today, actually, Coach Millie suggested that we talk about training days and rest days, and we're going to talk a little bit about active recovery days and just what that means to the body, the purpose of these things, but then also how to know when you really do need a rest day versus an active recovery day, and how that works. So welcome, coaches. Thanks a lot for joining me again today. Coach Millie, in the last week, you have nursed 2 small children back to health and sold a house, right? So
yes, and moved.
and yeah, so she is back in action with us.
So active recovery or
Active recovery or rest day. So anyways, guys, today we're going to be talking about that. I'm going to start out and I'm just going to ask you guys a couple questions. You guys being the coaches on the floor a little bit more than I am these days. What would you guys define as, or maybe Coach Sam, let's start out with, how would you define a training day?
it's intent. Really, all of this is going to come down to intent and then learning how to understand your body to determine an intent. So the intent of a training day is I am here to get better. I'm here to increase X. That's what I'm looking to do. That's what I'm training. That the word itself, you try not to use the word, the definition, but what I'm trying to improve a metric of fitness, one of our 10 general skills at minimum. That would be the simplest answer of what constitutes a training day. I'm here with the goal to get better.
Yeah. Okay. Any additions to that, Coach Millie?
No, that
Yeah.
sounds, that's what.
Yeah, and I would say there's usually there's a lot of different variations of training days and what they
Yes.
look like, especially in our CrossFit group classes, whether that's, we're getting better at strength today, or we're getting better at, like you said, the 10 general physical skills. But a training day is that, yeah, I'm working to improve a certain skill or domain of my fitness.
And I guess maybe one more angle of that we can put is I'm definitely going to create a recovery need for the day. So it's like the intensity, again, back to intent, the intensity and the intent in which I'm going to go about this session will demand something of me to recover from it.
Sure. Okay. Yeah, good point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we get new examples as we move along.
Okay. All right. So this is probably, I would say, a more skewed definition, because I think that I would say that as I talk to clients, I don't know that people realize what rest days are. What are rest days?
You don't go to the gym. We don't work out. You don't do a workout. You don't execute a training session. You don't go into anything you do during that day with the intent of creating a recovery need. I'm here to improve my strength. Like that. That's not and the kicker is the rest day is the most important one to actually improving these skills that you're trying to create out of the training day. But the rest day is not the day where you're swinging the hammer.
Yeah.
The rest day is the day where you're getting the body prepared to swing the hammer again.
So say well, Coach, I didn't go to CrossFit class today. I just went and ran a 5K. It was a rest day, right?
No.
I like to think about it as your body is the bank almost, and you take out withdrawals each time you do a workout or something physical. So a rest day, you're actually putting a deposit in to use later.
Good way to look at it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so that's,
Like that is the intent of the day.
right.
Yeah. So rest days mean you rest.
Yes.
Okay,
You
got
put back, you don't take anything out.
it. Got it.
Honestly, much more than a low intensity walk. A really light yoga session, that's less than, that's more than just the range of motion, the division of yoga. I'm sure that I phrased that horribly.
Mobility, maybe.
Like anything more than that, it's not really a true rest day.
Okay, yeah, and I think that we can dive a little bit further into the idea of what can be done on rest days here shortly, because I'm in agreement with you. There's a couple of things you touched on that I want to elaborate on with for the listener, but so active recovery days, how would those differ from training days and rest days? So Coach, you made the mention of like, hey, we're making a deposit, on a rest day. We're taking a withdrawal out on a training day. Coach, you mentioned the intent piece there. How would we describe an active recovery day? What is, and not necessarily specifically what it looks like, but what are the basics of an active recovery day and why would it be?
I'm moving, I'm getting through range of motion, I'm intentional about it. I am also intentional about my intensity not getting too high.
Okay.
Like I am not trying to max out any metric of my session that day. If it's a row day, I'm not trying to find the fastest row. If it's a strength day, I'm not trying to find the heaviest lift.
Mhm.
If it is a conditioning, I am not trying to find my best score that I can achieve.
Yeah.
But I am looking to move. I am looking to be intentional. I'm getting blood flow. I'm greasing the groove. Technique, technique should always be first, but technique is about the only thing we're really trying to hammer
Mhm.
in a day like an active recovery day.
Anything else on that, Coach?
No, yeah, I think that's exactly what I would have said. And also just the bank analogy, you're not taking anything away, you're not putting anything in, it just is almost neutral.
We're not creating the recovery need anymore.
Well, that's what I was going to ask, Coach, is like, is there going to be a recovery need from an active recovery day?
Not if it's truly an active
Not if
recovery
it's
day.
done
Like, yeah,
appropriately.
like you're not gonna sit there and be like, oh man, I need an extra 300 calories for this because of the
Yeah.
session.
Right.
No, you're gonna eat your normal food or maybe that extra because you've set instead of creating a recovery need, you set the stage for a bigger recovery by taking a small withdrawal and then doing all the same recovery,
Yeah, I think
which
I
are
would.
your deposits.
Yeah, I would agree, and I think almost like to echo some of the language you guys are already using is like an active recovery day might actually be that you are being intentional about recovery. You're not being intentional about training.
Mhm.
It's not a rest day. You're actually being intentional about your recovery. And that is different than a rest day as well. Like there's intentionality around a rest day, but it is typically, it's not around physical. It's actually around sleep. It's around eating. It's around hydration. It's like there's intentionality around rest days, but those are different intentions than an active recovery day, which I think we're being intentional around things that will aid in recovery, not necessitate recovery.
Yeah, so if like so separate kind of rest and active recovery. The active recovery days you're gonna sweat, the rest days you're really not.
Yeah, yeah. good.
Like that would be kind of the simplest way. Like you are going to sweat on an active recovery day, but you're not digging deep. On a rest day, none of your activities should make you sweat unless it's like 100 degrees outside, but your activity is not the one making you sweat.
Correct.
The weather is making you sweat.
We're gonna, as I was looking kind of at our notes, we're gonna talk a little bit more about rest days and active recovery days, but something I'd like to touch on is the model that we currently operate versus the model that CrossFit was built on. And if you're someone who's been around CrossFit for a really long time, you may know this structure and this model to work to rest things. But if you're newer to CrossFit, or if maybe even if you've only been in CrossFit for 6 or 7 or even 8 years, you may not know the understanding of this model. But the 6-day-a-week CrossFit program was actually never intended. It really was, and this is still what CrossFit HQ, I believe, would still follow in their programming when they publish workouts online. Is it's actually 3 on, 1 off, and then a 2 on, 1 off is
Mhm.
typically the schedule for a proper programming, which would justify 5 training days within a 7-day period. Now back then it would just say rest day on the main
Yeah.
site. Now
Because the other 5 days, everybody was just burying themselves.
correct, yeah. And so, but the true CrossFit like intent of training was a 3 on, 1 off, 2 on, 1 off, and a 5-day model of 7 days. The problem is that that's very difficult to operate in a business setting in CrossFit because one, we're open Monday through Saturday. So we are not open on Sundays. It's something that we've chosen not to do just as a, from a
And technically that would fit their model.
well, and what I was gonna say is that, and to be honest with you, it's intentional as well to make our clients not come in on Sunday. Because if we were open 7 days a week, our clients would be here 7 days a week.
Correct.
But there are gyms out there and they do operate models like this that will be open Monday through Wednesday. They actually close on Thursday and then they will reopen again for Friday and Saturday and close on Sunday. They are intentional about their actual even their open and close time. Now, we don't do that because Sam, what if you worked a schedule that you were 3 on at work Monday through Wednesday and now the first day you can work out is Thursday? Well, it's not really,
Yeah,
feasible for you, right?
and not for real life dictates.
Yes, so we do not choose that
Flexibility-
model.
Flexibility in our model.
Right, but the idea that someone should be training 7 days a week was never the case, especially, and one of the things that we talk about a lot, and we're gonna get more into some future podcasts on is around intensity versus volume. And so, we hope that we are accomplishing what we need to accomplish with our clients in a 6-day program through intensity and not so much hitting so much volume.
If you are ever quantity over quality.
Yeah.
You have skewed the priorities and you have a fixed timeline. We know how the story goes.
Yeah.
CrossFit finally has enough data that we know how the story goes.
So tell me a little bit about, because maybe what the 6-day per week CrossFit model looks like, or how we program for the 6-day a week CrossFit person. Because we don't have a ton of them, right? But we do have a small population in our gym that are going to show up Monday through Saturday.
It's uncommon that they don't.
Yes. So how do we kind of save them, or how do we best train that client with that client in mind? How do we best program for that?
We're back to intent.
Yeah.
So we're back to intent and intention, which is not, as the athlete at a CrossFit gym, really shouldn't be your job. I mean, in the end, it is your job as the athlete to execute, but it's on me and the rest of our staff to manage the intensity, the volume, and the variation and the movement patterns to allow for you to come in 6 days if that's what makes you happy.
Yeah.
So what we really do is we've got our Monday through Friday operates pretty structured, and Saturday we kind of loosen it up a little bit. Again, what I like about that is most people treat Saturdays as they come in here, we program it so that it's really easy to do an active recovery workout.
Mhm.
And then for our people that maybe haven't gotten in as much throughout the week, it's really easy for them to hit the gas pedal,
Ramp it up a little bit.
treat like a training day.
Yeah.
And our Monday through Friday, there is definitely always at least one day that's built in that everybody needs to take it as a little bit more in the active recovery realm, especially like, a workout like a mover where we don't score it. We throw in variations to movements we're used to make the brain think a little bit, because we want you to slow down a little bit, and little things like this. It's little details.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's our aerobic capacity days where we've got hard intervals and we've got light intervals, and then you back off and then you ramp up, and there's little things like that we do. But from there, after that, then it becomes very much just about understanding the flow of the week.
Yeah.
And like making sure we're not squatting 3 days in a row. We're not we probably don't normally squat 3 times. We usually probably squat around twice. We're probably usually on average two times a week, but I try to make sure that there is 1 to 2 days in between them, again, to allow for that recovery, but also then allow to continue to make it a little easier to vary, because I don't only have one opportunity to do a squat in the week, but I also don't have to figure out how to do it 5 times.
Yeah. Yeah.
That also allows me to play around with the days. So we talk about work schedule. So if we go with this super structured,
Mhm.
not very, not actually varied, but called varied model. Well, the person who can't ever make it in on Monday misses the movements we do on Monday because we
Right.
only do it on Monday.
Yep.
So there is that little bit of dance, but most of it comes down to like the intent that your coach is going to describe. All right, guys, today, this workout, this is not one that we want to get into that max heart rate. This
Yeah.
is, hey guys, this is we had the occasional day where we talk about zone 2 cardio, which is like a lower heart rate percent. What's that percentage range again?
64 to 73%
There,
or
there,
something like
there,
that,
there.
yeah.
They're very much, very sub-maximal,
Yeah.
but we've got days where, we had one a month ago where we spent 30 minutes in that range.
Mhm.
So it's building in little pieces like that, but like nobody got a bad workout in that day.
Yeah.
Everybody, I liked your language there. It's like, you're not gonna have a problem sweating, but you also shouldn't have a problem talking.
Right,
So like little cues like this to our athletes helps them understand how aggressive is too aggressive, because like I said, telling them, hey guys, stay under 73% of your heart
Max
rate
heart
range
rate,
today. And I'll see you guys in 25 minutes.
yeah,
That doesn't help anyone. Like,
yeah.
that doesn't help me.
Right.
And I love this stuff. I find it interesting.
Right. Well, and I think so, what I'm hearing here is like, there's a ton of, and we've talked about this in 2 different episodes now, but
On a detail.
how much gets like thought about when we think about the programming? Like, so when a client comes in, like, oh, that was a kind of an easy day. Good. Like,
Yes.
because
Hey, you're supposed to survive
On
today.
right,
purpose.
because when we're looking at a snapshot, not only are we looking at the snapshot of the week, we're also looking at the snapshot of the next 3 weeks or what we did the week before.
Yeah,
And
I'm
so,
always looking at minimum in a 2-week block.
right,
Everything operates at minimum in a 2-week block. And we have certain things that we get done
Yeah.
within every 2-week window.
Yeah.
Like we do a mover we get a mover in a 25-minute mover day
right,
every 2 weeks. Like we make sure that we get at least one of those in a week.
yeah,
Whatever movement we're focusing on, that it falls in, it becomes an emphasis in the 10-day cycle.
right,
A complementary strength day becomes a focus in the 10-day strength. So,
sure,
right now we're movement emphasis is that clean.
Yep.
So our complementary strength days are upper body, mostly pushing.
yeah,
Because we got a lower body pull. It allows,
Correct.
and then we use the movers and stuff like that to then continue to fill in those gaps.
yeah,
It's kind of like, it's putting in all the primary, what's the meat and potatoes? What's the main elements that we need?
yeah,
I love that whole analogy about, do you really have the time? Where the professor puts the golf balls in the jar, he's like, well, if the golf balls are your most important things, the sand is the fun things, and this is this. Well, I don't remember the rest of the analogy right offhand. It's a matter of, the meat and potatoes that I'm talking about, those are the golf balls.
right,
And then I figure out, what do I need to do to insulate what's happening?
sure,
That's where the sand comes in. And then that helps us make our decisions on our movements and our intensities in our different pieces of conditioning. Because
yeah,
like, you're right, not every day, like I only program, and again, in that 10-day block, there's really only maybe 2 days in that 10-day block that I really want it to be like don't want to do that again.
right, yeah,
People thought today was going to be that workout, but it turns out we've all survived, and people are like, okay, no, it actually wasn't as bad as we thought. Tuesday
was as bad as we thought.
Tuesday was that one. To put this in some context for maybe those that aren't members of the gym here that, are listening, it was 5 rounds of 12 devil's press, 12
Toe bar,
Stick jump.
and then
12 stick jumps, and
then
then
toe
12
bar.
Yeah.
12 toe to bar, 5 rounds. That was supposed to be a grinder. It's supposed to get on you. It's supposed to be deep water.
Yeah,
The heart rate's going to get up. The task is to prevent that from happening for as long as you can. That's what makes it a very good, challenging task and test.
Yeah.
For those that are listening, that's going to be repeated. I loved how that workout went. And I think that everyone's going to do they're going to do so much better the second time around now that they've got the full taste of it.
yeah,
But like something like that makes it, and this isn't the topic today, but makes it a really good for a retest workout, because there's not a lot that's going to get in the way to a consistent result doing it again.
Yeah.
Like there's not like, oh man, I was really tight, so I didn't have this skill component. My double unders were off.
Yeah.
There's that those components don't exist in that workout.
Correct.
They're very much, there's a skill and then movements you just have to move on.
yeah,
And so like those, again, that one's supposed to be deep water, but we don't program a lot of deep water.
yeah, Yeah, go ahead,
Yeah,
sorry.
one part, because I believe that that's what's best for our long-term fitness goals. But the other part is I know that everyone's gonna have those workouts that weren't designed around deep water. But it's gonna get deep for them.
Yeah.
So it's kind of allowing a margin for error and a human element because we have human practitioners of the program.
Yeah. Well, I think that's a good point there. And then we have some topics we're gonna talk about of like, what justifies retests and things like that and, performance assessments, things like that. But, so, as you can see, like we program with that 6-day-a-week CrossFit or Mind. Couple things that we do that, you touched on is like, one, I think it's huge for people to know, like, we do create a little bit of variability in when we place movements because we know that not everybody can work out Monday through Friday. So we want to make sure that there's some rotation in there. So some people, that's one of the things that we mentioned, like, that's why sometimes strength cycles don't work well because there's not, you do have to create a little variability so that Millie can get the squats in one week versus that she can't get it in the next week. The other thing that you mentioned was the Saturdays and giving that person the opportunity to like kind of go after it if they want to, but we also do partner Saturdays. And so very easy to come in with your buddy and be like, hey,
Find a partner that trained like you did. That
yeah,
week.
I don't know how your week was this week, but this is how my week was. Do you want to buddy up? And so that immediately takes down that intensity a little bit if you need to. And I always like to, make my partner do a little bit more work than me if possible. And that gives me some active recovery.
I
So,
only have one leg.
yeah. So,
Help me.
so, what would you say, and Coach Millie, like, I'd like to ask you this. What would you say is, how do you know when your body is telling you, hey, like, so I know that I want to go to the gym 6 days in the week, but it's Wednesday, and what signs are indicating to my body that maybe I do need to take a rest day on Thursday?
I think the number one is unresolved muscle soreness. If your body just feels beat up and it's just not feeling, you just feel beat up, you're sore. I would say quality of sleep. Sleep would play a factor into your body telling you need a rest day. If you feel tired, sore, and just generally blah, and then in the back of your head, you're like, man, I just don't know if I have it in me. It's probably your brain telling you that you don't, and your body giving you those signals, and you should take a rest day.
I think that's interesting because I think a lot of people out there would say, like, there's these motivational, YouTube and TikTok and everything else is like, the day you don't want to go to the gym is the exact day you have to go to the gym,
It's
right?
the most important one.
Right. Cool. That's
Mondays
great.
are better than others.
And maybe that is for the guys that are professional athletes and
Yeah, you have to have
the
that
people that are like striving, like I get it, that's your job, that's why you put food on your table. But for most of us, the accountant, the car salesperson,
They paid to be here.
this isn't how you put food on your table. And so maybe the day that you don't really want to go to the gym is a day that you do need to focus on something other than the gym. And whether that's getting an extra, hour of sleep, or whether that's just going home and spending some time with your family, or reading a book, or, maybe taking that hour that you would spend at the gym and then rush home and eat crap to go home and actually cook a healthy dinner, right? So just, like, I'm not dogging anybody that has that mentality. I would just say that that's probably not the majority of us. Like, it's,
No.
we're not making excuses, but we maybe need to listen to our bodies.
And the other thing that Josh is bringing up there, you're like, oh, you take that time to go do this or that. You're not training. You're just not in the gym.
Correct.
You are contributing to, you are pushing the rock forward.
Mhm.
You are carrying the rock forward if you are having a higher quality meal than you would have. If, a quote that I heard a long time ago from Stan Efferding, I really, really loved. He talks like, if you're not getting enough sleep, getting up early to go to the gym is like jumping over $1 just so you can pick up a nickel.
Yeah.
And he's like, by giving away your proper sleep to go train more,
Mhm.
you're just further increasing, you're creating that deficit.
Yeah.
Okay, Millie?
Hmm?
What you have?
Oh, I was just gonna say that a big part of this is really knowing yourself too. Now, yes, if every day you're like, I don't want to. For like 3
Maybe you
weeks.
just don't want to
Right,
exercise.
Well, you-
maybe come in and talk to us, we'll have a goal review session and we
Yeah.
can see how we can help motivate you, but if it's every once in a while, you just feel tired, unmotivated, then sometimes that is your sign.
Our
Yeah.
bodies are
Take it.
super smart.
They
Yeah, like,
are,
you,
they
yeah,
are.
so really kind of my, like, how do I know? There, or what do I recommend is first off, you have to know your baseline. Like, if you always sleep crappy, well, then poor sleep may not necessarily be a sign.
Sure.
But if you have lower quality sleep, I'm waking up a lot more, I'm having a harder time falling asleep. I'm doing the same thing and I'm getting a different
And you're
result.
not, yeah.
And that, like other ones, a lot of it's like weird nervous system interactions, like, sometimes when you start training a lot more, or maybe you're gonna bump up your intensity, you're going to get hungrier.
Mhm.
I know that I'm overtraining when I am getting hungrier, and then the food's in front of me and I have no desire to eat.
Yeah,
Like it's nervous system interactions like that.
sure.
Like I want to eat, but I have no drive to do it.
Yeah.
The other one, and I used to say, do you feel it? You having a hard time writing? Now it's texting.
Yeah.
But like fine motor,
Yeah.
any fine motor skills. If you're finding yourself, I'm struggling with it, I just don't understand why. Take a look. You may be overtrained.
Yeah.
At that point, you may be due for that extra rest day where the system needs the full shutdown. It doesn't need the active recovery. It needs the
Yeah.
reset.
Yeah. I want to touch on, kind of to give a little bit more insight to rest days and active recovery. And so just to kind of highlight this so that the listener can kind of remember what this looks like. Like active recovery days are days that you might sweat a little bit, but you're being intentional around your recovery. But the active recovery days should not demand more recovery. Okay. When we talk about the difference of the rest day versus the active recovery day, Coach mentioned something that I think we should highlight is that getting on a foam roller, getting on a cross ball, beating the crap out of your muscles to like increase range of motion and do all this stuff for an hour and a half on a rest day is going to demand recovery from that mobility session, right? And so Coach mentioned something light yoga,
Mhm.
light mobility work, getting down on the floor and stretching your hamstrings for 30 seconds a piece, no big deal because you did some staggered stance RDLs
Yeah,
yesterday.
Yeah,
but
if you're doing anything major, it should be somebody else doing it. Chiropractor, massage therapist.
right. Going, or now it's everybody has their own massage gun, right? So like if
So
you,
somebody else should use the massage gun.
right. So if you're doing the massage gun on yourself and then you wake up the next day and your quads are so sore and you're like, oh, I put that massage gun on me to decrease this soreness. Well, you just overworked that massage gun and now you're sore from the massage gun that wasn't a rest day
Yes.
well served, right? And then the other thing too is like we're also not telling people not to want to go move every day. We also know, like Coach mentioned, kind of like your baseline is also understanding like who you are as a person. I know that I do my best a lot just doing something every day. But I also have 20 some years of exercise experience that allows me to know how hard is today going to be versus how hard will tomorrow be. When do I need to get after it? Or when do I want to get after it? And when do I not want to get after it? When do I just kind of want to go through the motions? And you can do that. You can have active recovery days, like even within a group CrossFit class, like you can go into it. I love AMRAPs for that. I love I know the movers are intended to be a little bit of active recovery, but like,
The AMRAPs
Even-
are always
yes.
the easiest ones.
and because again, everybody's going to finish at the same exact time. I just get to determine how much work I do. Intent in yourself is huge. And one thing we encourage our clients is we say like, hey, is there any injuries or issues going on? It's something we ask at every class before our clients start. And, but we also have very personal touch points with each client. And when we do that, if someone comes in and they're like, I've had a heck of a week. I've already put in 50 hours. It's Wednesday. I'm exhausted. The win here today is for me to be here. I'm immediately going to tell that client like, hey,
Slow down.
this is going to be an active recovery day then. Here's what we're going to do today. You're just going to go through the motions. Here's the kind of maybe the weight selection I would go with if it's even weight. Or hey, let's turn this into body weight. Hey, I want to be able to come up and talk to you at any point during the workout and you can say something back to me. Like we're intentional around doing that even during our regular CrossFit days. And I would just give encouragement is like sometimes showing up to the gym is the win that day. And if your baseline is, I feel better if I go to the gym every day. And that may be even an indicator is like, I know I need a rest day when even though I've trained, I still don't feel like myself. That probably tells me maybe you just needed a rest today, Josh. Maybe you didn't need to move today.
That was a big deal for me knowing that my hormones were off.
Yeah.
Like that was a big one
Yeah.
for me. I loved the gym and I was having a really hard time with it.
Yeah. So that just kind of an indicator there is like to understand, like, rest days mean rest. Make sure that you're not overdoing it there. Especially even on the soft tissue stuff and things like that. That stuff can demand recovery and can be detrimental to actually your recovery piece getting back into training the next day. So I want to ask you guys, what would you say training schedules should really look like for kind of like what I would consider our we like to think that we have kind of 3 domains of our clients, and I don't think they all fit right there perfectly, but you know, if I have a strength or performance athlete, you know, someone who's doing this somewhat competitively, whether they're training for outside competitions or inside competitions, whether it's CrossFit or weightlifting or triathlon, whatever else. How would you say a training schedule should look like for someone like that versus maybe the fat loss client? And I listened to a podcast the other day that I want to chime in on because I found something out that I was like, oh, that's interesting. And then like our general fitness clients, how should those schedules vary?
Do you have anything comes to mind?
Well, my first initial thought is, the number one thing to remember is everybody is different,
Yeah.
even within those categories.
Yeah,
So it's kind of, in my mind, it's like the phrase, it
it
depends.
depends is the best answer we give in fitness.
It depends is always the
It's my
answer.
favorite answer because it really does depend, because even if there's strength and performance clients and there's 3 of them, they're stressors at work, they're stressors at home, do they have a newborn at home? Do they have, do they work night shift? Do they work day shift? So I think the answer, not to just be generalized, but that's why it's important to talk to your coaches and to be open about basically everything, so we can then make a personal recommendation to you if you are struggling with some of the signs of needing rest days, or you don't know what best schedule benefits you to meet your goals.
I think that's a really great point. And I think if I could speak just even like on the strength and performance athlete, like we would say that strength and performance athlete, depending on what their goals are, but if their goals are, I'm competing.
How serious are you?
Yeah, and if they're seriously looking to improve on something, they're probably going to be a 5 to 6 day a week.
You're gonna have a hard time optimizing that goal
Yes,
less than 5 days a week.
but I think go ahead.
Outside of that, how often should you come in? What's fun?
Yeah.
What are you gonna enjoy coming in and maintain a positive relationship in the gym
Yeah,
and with movement and all that sort of stuff? That's the optimal schedule. I will say that 3 days a week of intentional training definitely seems to kick the crap out of 2 days a week. That's, to me, is where I find the biggest like separation from 1 days to 2 days a week, 2 days to 3 to 3 to 4, 2 to 3. Getting to 3 seems to be the biggest return on investment.
Yeah.
3 to 4 is another huge return. And then after that, how are you recovering?
yes, I think that's a good point, because I always just say, like, you know, the bare minimum here is 3 days a week, but at the same time, as life has happened and as you meet more people and you try to make this work for everybody, like, I get that maybe somebody can't get in 3 days a week, you know, so they have to get in twice a week. But I think you make a good point, is like, as we try to create, you know, great opportunities of variation and flow within our class structure, and even as structured of a program as we can, you know, create, if someone's only making to that program twice a week, they're missing just a whole lot of stuff. Once they start to get to 3 days a week, that, you know, they miss a little less. And then 4 days a week, they miss a little less. When you start to want to, and this is where I would say is like, very few people are probably doing all the right things to train 5 and 6 days a week. And that's what you mentioned, like going from 4 to 5 days a week. Now we have to talk about recovery. And something I would encourage folks on is like, if you're someone who's, you know, maybe you're not working with, you know, coaches like we have all of our clients work with our coaches every time they come into the gym. So they're not following anything blindly. But if you're someone like trying to do an online program, and maybe there's 1,000 other people doing this online program, and you're trying to meet the demands of the program that is 6 days a week, but you have no idea what these other people are doing in the rest of their time to recover, like, you might be setting yourself up for failure because you're not a 6 day a week athlete yet, not because you can't do it, but because you're not doing the other things like the recovery, the nutrition, the sleep, all those other pieces of the puzzle. So you might just be setting yourself up in this way that you're going to become unmotivated. You're going to be, you're going to be getting hurt. And you're going to get overtrained eventually. And so I think it is really important, is like, if you're someone that's, you know, trying to get started, get to 3 days a week as quickly as you can, no matter what the training program is. Try to get to 3 days a week of what coach said, intentional training, right? And then, and then getting from that 3 to 4, like that's a big mover in the right direction when we take clients, when they sit down and goal reviews and maybe they do something with us and they're like, I'm just not quite happy with the results I'm seeing. And we ask, well, how many days a week are you getting here? And they're like, well, 2 to 3. And when they say 2 to 3, that means it's on average, it's actually 2. And the win is like, I got to hear a third day, one day. And it's like, well, what would that do if we could get you to 4 days a week and we could double the amount of training sessions you're getting in? That's huge for someone's results. And then, like you said, the nuances of getting from 4 to 5 and 6,
And so like my little super simple rule, my super scientific people are like, what the hell is he talking about? This is just what seems to work. I've seen good results and it works well and it gets people in the right mindset. Once you're going to go to 5+ hours a week in the gym, like overall, like 7-day cycle, I am on average, I'm going to be there 5 or more hours total. You now need to match every one of those hours with a recovery effort outside of the gym.
Good point.
Stretching, mobility, food prep, nighttime routine, like these little morning routine.
Yeah.
Whatever it looks like for you is you need to make sure that you are matching that effort outside of the gym. We talk about it all the time. It's like the 1 hour in the gym is the easy part. It's the other 23 that we have to navigate.
Yeah.
So this also, it creates a mindset around awareness, but we also we learn to respect our time and we learn to respect our own body in this mode and this sort of a mindset where, all right, if I'm going to spend 5 hours in the gym, there's 5 hours I need to account for out of the gym to enable me to get the maximum results in the recovery, because we get stronger by recovering. We don't get stronger by working out. Otherwise, I'd still be on my infinite set of push-ups because every set of push-ups, I could just do one more. So like, again, that it does a lot for people.
Yeah.
And I've just seen a lot of success with people getting into that mode and into that mindset. Match your hours, recovery effort to training effort.
I think that's really important. And I've had conversations with clients where I've had to say, hey, rather than go add another workout to your schedule, I'd really like you to spend an hour in the kitchen this week. Like, that's what I care about.
Right.
And that's,
You'll
Maybe-
see your progress faster.
yeah, maybe a simple plug here. I was listening to a podcast the other day doing some zone 2 training. So low heart rate training that I could talk in and listen to a podcast and consume information in would be kind of considered an active recovery day almost for me. And I was listening to the podcast and they were interviewing a researcher, and he was discussing that we really aren't finding that exercise is really moving the needle forward that much in metabolic change of the body. Meaning that, and this is a complete indicator of like talking about eating, is that the more our bodies are active, what typically ends up happening is our bodies are very smart creatures. And so the calorie exchange ends up almost staying the same because our body goes, well, yeah, you have this added effort that you burn 300 calories on. So either the body pulls calories from other efforts, which are your daily activities like hormone release and recovery and all this other stuff, the functions of your immune system, or it also then goes, hey, we also need to consume more calories now because we burn this. So the body's very smart. And so that what ends up happening is the caloric exchange almost stays about the same. And so they say that it's very much, or a lot less about how much you're moving and how active you are, and so much more. And there's a plug for our nutrition.
Are you supporting?
is nutrition, and then all the other areas of the body that affect your metabolism. And so if you're someone that's going, how do I get to 6 days a week of training, or I just need to work out more, I just need to get in the gym more, maybe you don't. And maybe there's other components there. And if you're not doing a couple things, one, spending another hour of each. If you're working out 3 days a week, that means you have 3 other hours that you're spending on recovery efforts.
Minimum.
One of those might be nutrition. So if you're not handling the nutrition program like you should, or even you don't have a clue even how much food you should be eating, those are other markers that I would be addressing before I would be addressing how do I get more workouts in the week.
The
So,
kicker is you are addressing how do I get more workouts in the week.
yeah, right, exactly.
Yeah.
By
Boom.
attachment, just
But
mic
yeah,
drop.
yeah, that's the thing, is that everything that you do, again, with intention, with the mindset of, whatever your goals are, it pushes the rock forward. The rest day can push the rock forward.
Yeah.
The meal prep day can push the rock forward. The massage can push, like that, I talk about being humble enough to accept whatever mode of progress has to present itself to you. Sometimes it's stripping, it's reworking your movement. Sometimes it is adding another train day, and some days and for some people, it is adding a meditation practice.
Yeah.
Like, you have to be humble enough to accept that not everything is just do more training.
Right.
Yeah.
And that one magical rest day every month is not actually going to.
29 on, 1 off.
Right,
29 on.
and there's,
Except for February.
yes, so one magical rest day, or even if you take 2 or 3 and you still don't, it's just not clicking, that's when you look at the other, those factors of nutrition and sleep and making sure that you're balancing it out.
Yeah. Are you maintaining a positive relationship with what's happening?
Mhm.
Yeah.
That's a
Right.
really important thing to try to, that's why it's so important to understand your baseline, is you have to understand, you have to I don't have fun casually training.
Yeah.
I genuinely don't. It's not fun for me just to go in and go through the motions. I don't struggle doing an active recovery day because I understand this at this point. I've been doing it for a long time. I've got my intent and I'm still working. But I like to train very, very hard. I like to be uncomfortable in my training. There's a piece in that to me. I still have to be looking at my relationship with the gym and making sure that I'm maintaining a positive relationship.
Definitely.
We think about how many athletes come in, college athletes with a coach that was just way over the top.
Mhm.
Man, sometimes it's the bigger hurdle to get them to be okay only training 3 days a week.
Yeah.
But that's the most positive thing they can do for their health. And again, it's understanding that everything that we've talked about on here, all of it pushes the rock forward.
Longevity.
Yeah, and that's something that we actually have another topic on that, like how to train for longevity. I think we're gonna talk about rest days in that conversation, but
The rest days will come. It's a matter, do you want them all at once because you can't do it anymore?
right, that's a good point. So, well, I swear one of these days we're gonna talk for less than 30 minutes, but we also feel like we want to be able to utilize the time we have and really give as much information as we can. If
We don't
this-
want to halfway give the answer.
Right, exactly, because it depends sometimes, and we need to dive into that a little deeper. And but if you're someone out there, number one, if you're one of our clients and you feel like you're experiencing some of these issues that we talked about, or how to put in healthy rest days, hit us up, talk with us, talk with your client success coach. These are great topics of discussion, not only just during your 90-day reevals, but also just to be able to shoot a message, say, hey, I am struggling. I'm struggling to get into the gym more, or maybe I'm coming to the gym too much and I'm getting a little burnout. How can you help there? But if you're not a client of ours and this is something that resonates with you and you want to learn a little bit more about what we do here, you can always jump on our website. If you hit the learn more button or book a free intro button on there, you'll sit down with one of us. We talk. The number one thing we talk about is we talk about your goals. We talk about where you want to get to. And then we sit down and have personalized conversations around what that really looks like to accomplish those goals, no matter what it is, general fitness, weight loss, strength and performance, those are all the things. So again, guys, you can hit us up on social media, subscribe to us on Instagram. I'm sorry, not on Instagram, on YouTube. You can also follow us on the podcast now as well. At Sam Schaefer 1 on Instagram, at Mrs. Patterson, no numbers with that, just at Mrs. Patterson. On Instagram, at the Coach Josh, or at CF Metro East. Hit us up, guys. We're happy to provide this information. And if you have more questions around health and fitness, we'd be happy to answer those. So hit us up and hopefully we'll put that on a podcast soon. Take care.